may have seemed like an unlikely political pairing. But the Marcos-Duterte alliance proved to be the winning ticket that propelled President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and his Vice-President Sarah Duterte-Carpio to the steps of Malacanang Palace.
It's actually one of the most powerful political alliances ever formed in Philippine political history.
But just less than 2 years later, the partnership between the two political dynasties appears to be fraying. After months of speculation, their simmering feud has been laid bare, degenerating into accusations of drug use.
Nung ako'y mayor, pinakitaan ako ng evidence ng PDEA. Doon sa listahan, nandoon yung pangalan mo.
I think it's the fentanyl. Fentanyl is the strongest painkiller that you can buy. It is highly addictive and it has a very serious side effects. And PRRD has been taking the drug for a very long time now.
The rumored Marcos-Duterte rivalry has broken out in the open in a rift that could have implications far beyond local politics. What's behind the feud and what does this mean for the future direction of Philippine politics? Here to help explain this is Lucio Blanco Pitlo III. He's a research fellow at the Asia Pacific Pathways to Progress Foundation. Let's start from the beginning, how when they announced this political partnership that Marcos and Duterte Sr.'s daughter would team up, that seemed like an unlikely pairing. So could you perhaps explain what are the political benefits for each side by teaming up?
It's actually one of the most powerful political alliances ever formed in Philippine political history. So it's a marriage of one of the most powerful political clans in Luzon, in the northern part of the country, especially in far northern Luzon, the Ilocos-speaking region, the bailiwick or stronghold of the Marcos family. And of course, from the south, Mindanao, the second largest island, and largely Cebuano-speaking. And so the Duterte clan from that island, who also, of course, have a lot of support from the Visayas or the central group of islands. So essentially, it's like being able to win the majority local population in these areas, in northern Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao. So it's a very powerful combination of two political dynasties.
So what's behind this apparent feud between the two sides?
Well, I would think there are several issues, notable of which is one, the foreign policy, the how to deal with China. I think it's one of the falling out between the current President Marcos Jr. and of course his predecessor, the father of his Vice-President Sarah Duterte-Carpio, former President Rodrigo Duterte. They have different approaches on how to deal with China, the country's big neighbor and largest trade partner. The second is in relation to the International Criminal Court. The issue of the drug war that was, of course, launched and one of the signature campaigns of the former Duterte administration, which the current Marcos Jr. administration seems unenthusiastic to follow. He said that the war on drugs is still an agenda, but it will be less in terms of law enforcement. It will be treated and seen more as a health, as the need for rehabilitation. So that is the emphasis. So a different approach to the problem, and of course how to work with the International Criminal Court. Of course, under the former Duterte government, Philippines withdrew from the ICC. And of course, there are concerns right now that Marcos Jr., despite of his announcements, might be pressured, whether domestically or by international forces, actors, partners of the country, to rejoin the ICC. It may pave the way for an investigation And if the proceedings ruled that several former Philippine government officials were indeed culpable of committing crimes, prescribed under the ICC, then they might be arrested by, ICC, and that the Philippine government would be complied to cooperate.
So the ICC issue, though, is very much it's sort of a personal issue for Duterte then, because it very much involves him and his previous administration.
Agrees. Another point of the dissension of the Marcos Duterte, the fragmentation of this once very strong unity or political alliance, was on the matter of constitutional change or charter change. Both administrations have proposed, to change the constitution. Former President Duterte, proposed that the form of government of the country be transformed into a federal form, of government. And this is actually one of his platforms when he ran back in 2016. And now the current Marcos Jr. administration also wants to amend the constitution, but would want to focus at least the economic provisions, especially removing restrictions on foreign ownership, foreign capital, so that the country will be able to attract more foreign investment. Some analysts look at it as a potential risk because the change in the constitution may go beyond what is stated, which is economic provisions, and they worry that some of those proposing or advancing this cause might actually have selfish motives behind it. Which is, of course, to try to prolong their term in office, or maybe change the form of government from presidential to parliamentary.
So to sum it up, the dispute on this issue seems to be on the Duterte's or on the Marcos side. They're saying that this is to advance the economy, promote investment into the country, but Duterte camp accuse Marcos of trying to prolong his term in office. So this dispute, and as it's growing, what does this mean then for the future of politics in the country, and specifically how will this affect Marcos' ambitious economic plans for the country?
Yeah, so next year the Philippines will have midterm elections, and by 2028 the Philippines will have presidential elections. And so this fracturing of the Marcos-Duterte alliance is very crucial. Because it may unravel, the strength of this political marriage, and of course we see that this is not unprecedented. That there have been political alliances before that they were only temporary marriage of convenience during the elections. But what we are seeing here is that it's the astonishing speed by which it's unpacking. This may not bode well for the Marcos Jr. administration, especially they need to have all the support that they can get in order to pass critical, urgent, priority bills of the administration. And having the Dutertes in Mindanao is very important because, again, Mindanao, the Visayas area, is both rich areas of the country. But from the Duterte side, we also saw that his recent calls to separate Mindanao, in his reaction to the congressional or the People's Initiative, the move to change the constitution, he said that there's nothing fundamentally flawed with the current 1987 constitution to warrant charter change. He said that if the government persists, then he would he would support moves to separate Mindanao from the rest of the country, which, of course, the security sector, many people in government, even leaders from Mindanao and the Visayas, did not support. So there might be, fragmentation of Duterte's alliances with other clans or families in Mindanao and the Visayas, which may not bode well if Sarah Duterte-Carpio would aspire for the highest position in the land by 2028.
Well, early polls suggest that she is ahead of Marcos Jr. What are the chances of her succeeding Marcos Jr.?
Well, of course, it's very important that between now and 2028, that she will be able to weather these political challenges, and of course be seen as an inclusive leader. So this fragmentation of the Marcos Duterte alliance, this fraying of ties between two major political families in the Philippines, may not be good for her move to bid for the highest post in the land. So the more alliances that Sara Duterte can create and keep, is better, and this would strengthen her hand.
Okay, I want to wrap this up by asking you, given his continuing popularity, what are the chances of Duterte Sr. coming back? Because he has threatened to in the past, or is that just tough talk?
So so he made mention that. So we don't know how serious it is, but he might decide to run as a senator for next year, the midterm elections, and perhaps challenge the policies of the current Marcos Jr. government. But if that happens, that will add more fireworks, incendiary rhetoric between the former and the past the presidents of the country. It may not bode well, for the image of the Philippines, especially, in these challenging times, whether in South China Sea or whether in great power competition. So the more the Philippines looks divided at home, then we will not be able to position ourselves to meet the challenges of the times, trying to attract foreign capital, recover from the pandemic of 2.5 years, trying to revive, our economy, trying to compete with our neighbors in ASEAN, especially like Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, which is of course steaming ahead, trying to get capital from both the West and the East. So it's very important that we project the sense of unity, because it will send signals to investors, domestic and foreign.
Great. On that note, we'll wrap this up here. Thank you so much, Lucio, for your insights. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, and more power to your show.